Hello, this is PyJolt here. Now, what we have here is a Nerf blaster. In theory, it's quite a simple thing. You simply load it, prime it, and fire it. Load, prime, fire. And what I'm going to try to do today is to mimic this with Tkinter in Python. Like I say, I'm talking about mimicking it. I'm not actually going to be making a Nerf blaster. What I am going to be doing is trying to mimic the functionality for a game I've got in mind, which is Just a Jolt's blaster clicker or something. So let's get on with this. The first thing we're going to need up here, if I just transfer to another window, there we go. Let's have that there. There we go. Let's have a little bit of that. So the first thing we're going to need on here, I believe, is a Python editor. So let's do this. Let's get this up. We're going to be using idle today, and we're also going to be using Tkinter. And if you haven't used Tkinter before, it's phenomenally useful. If you want to use Python to make a GUI, then you can do that quite easily with Tkinter. What am I even looking for? I don't even know where I'm going. OP, there we go. Yeah, because I know the alphabet. Right, so let's get idle up here. So we've got idle up, and the first thing that we're going to do is start up a new file. So a new file here, and let's save it as something useful. So let's get this saved. Control-C, Control-S. Let's save it onto the desktop. Why not? And we're going to save it as Python blaster clicker. So there we go, so there's Python blaster clicker all saved, and we'll keep the shell up and around and about so that we can use that too. The reason I'm not making direct eye contact with you all the time is, of course, because my kind of screen is elsewhere, and I've got to keep on checking what's going on my other screen to make sure I'm not doing anything bizarre or weird or anything. So let's get this up, there we go. Alright then, so like I said, the first thing that we're going to want to do, we're going to close down this instance of the Python shell, otherwise things get confused, is we're going to import Tkinter, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. So let's do this. So import Tkinter as TK. Now when you use Tkinter, the reason we're importing it as TK is just because then we're going to be writing that a lot, so it's just a little bit less to write. If there are any comments, by the way, about the sound, about anything like that, let's have a quick look at the chat, see if the chat's working. Man, you'd be surprised at, there we go, let's just get this somewhere I can see it too. So much going on the screen at any one time, it's absolutely unreal. There we are. So, so the first thing we're going to want to do in Tkinter is to start up a window. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and have a window. Window equals tk.tk, and we're just going to let it know what the window is. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get rid of myself completely so that you can see the screen, so that you can see exactly what's going on at all times. So there are a couple of windows happening here. Alright, so first things first, we've imported that, and then the next thing we're going to want to do is to define the size of our window and the geometry, because that's kind of how Tkinter works. Once you define the window, once you've said you want the window, then you've got to kind of tell the window how big you want it to be and give it a title and give it other attributes. So let's do this then. So window.title, and let's call it Jolt's clicker as a title. Seems like an apt name for it. And then we're going to give it some geometry as well, so we're going to give it size. So window.geometry, and for the moment we don't need it to be that big, so let's just have 500 by 500 pixels. Now if I were to just run this as it is now, then actually nothing would happen. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go ahead and press F5 and run it, and oh, actually something does happen. So there we go, so we get our window. I'm actually a little bit surprised there. I wasn't expecting it to run, but you can see already that we've got Jolt's clicker, we've got the title there, so there's already a little bit of customizability happening. Now, before we go any further, this is the reason I wasn't sure that it was going to run if I just ran it like that. I guess it won't run if there are buttons on the window. Then it's not going to run with this. The buttons won't work. But what you've got to do to make buttons and other functionality work is window.main loop, and that's going to be and that's something that you always need. Let's get that right at the end of everything that you code with Tkinter. If you've got a window, especially if you're expecting to have some functionality and things changing within the window, you've always got to have that looping. Always got to have that looping around and around. Otherwise, nothing will happen within your window. All right. So I guess what we need to do then is just start off with having our blaster. Well, let's start off by loading our blaster, and so I guess to load our blaster, we're going to need a variable that tells us whether or not our blaster's loaded. So let's have darts. Let's call that is loaded. Let's call that is loaded, and that's going to be. I'm going to call that false to begin with, because of course we want our blaster to start off by being unloaded. We're also going to need a variable. We're going to use these as global variables. No, that's not best practice, but global variable is primed. So let's go ahead and have that as false as well, because at first it's not going to be primed. And then we'll have another one called foam flung. So basically the number of darts that you've fired overall. And this is going to have to be a number, because a dart's either fired or it's not, but really it's got to be a number. So now that we've got these variables, we need some functions there to actually make these variables do things. And what we're going to do before we go any further, it's always best practice to annotate your work as well. So I'm going to go ahead and annotate this and just write stuff like, I don't know, Python 3, a little description, blaster clicker simulator, because of course this is going to be a highly advanced simulator. And then, of course, we're importing Tkinter. Let's just write a little note here. Global. We'll call these blaster state variables. Blaster state variables. And if you're wondering what I'm doing here with a hashtag, if you're not familiar with that, that's just the way you write comments in Python. It's always a good idea to write comments on anything you do, so that if anyone else ever looks at it, they understand what's going on. Now, I'm not expecting anyone else to ever look at this, but it's really, really good. It's a really good practice to get into. So, and now we need to think about the modules we need. So we need a module to handle the loading of the darts. We need a module to handle the priming of the blaster, and a module to handle the actual flinging of the foam itself. All right, they're the modules that we need. So I'm just going to make a quick note of that there. So we need a module to load the blaster. We need a module to deal with priming the blaster. And we also need a module to deal with the actual firing of the blaster. And the loading module is going to change is loaded to true. When that's true, priming is also going to be able to be made true when you click on a button. These are all operated by buttons, by the way. And then finally, to fire your blaster, if it's primed, you'll be able to fire your blaster, and then that'll increment this foam flung here. So that's the idea. We also want to be able to display whether or not these are actually primed and things. So I think what we'll do before we go any further, let's just make up some buttons and displays to be able to use these. So let's have button underscore load. That's what we'll call the button to load, and that's going to be tk.button. So tk.button is just calling a method button from tk from Tkinter. Remember, up here we decided to call this import Tkinter as tk. So whenever we write tk, it's just saving us from writing out Tkinter because we've imported it as tk. So it's just saving us a little bit of time here and there. So right, so on this button we want some text which says load on it, because obviously we want people to know that they got to load the button, and then we can decide how big the button is as well. So let's just have height, I don't know, let's have height as 2. So that's going to be 2 lines high as opposed to 2 pixels high or anything like that. And then we can have width as, I don't know, we do want it to be kind of wide, don't we? We want a button that's kind of like wide-ish. And width equals 15. And we've also got to decide where we're going to put this. So let's have button underscore load, and where are we going to put this? Grid. So the dot grid method is just how you tell Tkinter that you want that you're trying to put it somewhere on your work. So we're going to put this where column. Let's have column 0. Let's keep it all in the same column 0. Row. Let's put it on row 1 just in case we want to put it just in case you want to put something else there. All right, and then we're just going to go right ahead and we're going to now create. There we go. So let's just copy this a couple of times because we also want a button to prime, and we want, there we go, so we do button prime. That's going to be on row 2. The text of this obviously is going to be prime because that's what we're going to be doing with it. And then finally we'll have button. Let's call this oops, what am I even doing? There we go. Let's have button blast. And so this is the button to blast to fling our foam. So there we go. So that's blast. And let's change this as well to blast so that we know what's going on. Now, this is what I was telling you guys earlier about this windows.main loop thing. So I'm going to save this and then run it. And then you'll see that there's actually some invalid syntax here. So there's some stuff that's gone wrong. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, no, that's me. That's me. My bad. Okay. There's commas. They need commas there. There we go. Comma, 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 comma. Gotta love those commas. Right. See if there's anything else wrong with this. There we go. So at the moment, see, this window isn't displaying any of my buttons. Where are my buttons, Tkinter? What have you done with my buttons? Why are you doing this? The music stopped as well. Let me start the music again. Actually, do you want some different music? Let's have some different music, shall we? There we go. So let's go with I don't know. Let's have this is fun. Let's go with that. There we go. Let's have some of this. I don't even know what this is. I just clicked on it. I can't actually hear this because it's not going through my speakers at the moment. My speakers are kind of plugged into the computer, as it will, if you will. So anyway, let's get rid of this. And this windows.main loop thing, remember, this has got to be looping all the time at the bottom. Otherwise, nothing will show up in your window. So now we'll save it. We'll press F5, and now we should, and we still can't see the buttons anywhere. We still don't have any buttons. Well, that really stinks. Okay, what's the problem here? And we got window.geometry, window. Why isn't this even working? Let's have a look. Tkinter bad geometry specified 500 times 500. What's wrong with that? That's how you're meant to specify the geometry. I'm fairly certain about that. Let me just have a little think. Is there anything I've done wrong here? Window.geometry. Oh, it's because I've got spaces there. That's pretty stupid. There we go. You've got to be so specific with all this coding, Mark. It's absolutely unreal. But you know, I'll get there one day. There we go. Right, so we've got our window now. But again, we still haven't got our buttons. Well, why haven't? Where are my buttons? I've placed them and everything. So where have they gone? Is there something I've forgotten here? Maybe it's that command thing. No, it's not that. So I placed them. Man, I have not got a clue what's going on here. Where are my buttons? I don't even know where my buttons are. Maybe I forgot to save it. Did I not save it? Let's save it. Oh, there it is. There it is. It was behind. It appeared behind. There we go. So here's my window. There's my window right there. Okay, so it was actually, there was nothing wrong with it. It was just behind everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this again. There we go. It should come up. Where are the stink? It was there just now. Why isn't it coming up this time? What's wrong with this? Oh, there it is. Okay. Man, I don't know why it's doing that. I have not got a clue. Anyway, there you go. Maybe there was just like another one behind there that was being weird. So anyway, load, prime, blast. And they don't actually do anything because we haven't told them to do anything yet, which is kind of fair enough. Now, we need an indicator on there to tell us whether we're load, whether we're prime, whether we're blasting, or how many darts we've blasted, rather. So let's go ahead and make one or two. We'll call them indicators. So we'll call it loaded indicator, because I can spell, and then that's going to be TK, and we're going to have to use a text method for that. So this is going to create like a text box for us, and in order to have the text box, we've got to write master equals window. This is just saying that we want our text box to be in the window, and we're also going to give it a height and a width again. So let's give it a height. So this is a text box, so we need a little bit more space maybe. So height equals maybe 3 in the text box. Okay, that'll do. And width equals, make it 20. Now let's keep it the same width as the button, shall we? Just to keep it looking. Well, I guess if it's bigger, at least you'll be able to tell it's a text box, won't you? Let's call it 30. Let's have it twice the size and see what that does. Then we need to place it on a grid, so we need to tell it where we want it to go. Loaded underscore indicator equal. Oh, that's not no equals this time, is it? We're just putting it on a grid. Oh man, I'm getting rid of. I don't even know what I'm doing with myself. There we go. Let's get rid of this. There we go. There we go. All right. Put that bracket back there, otherwise weird stuff will happen. Right, grid. Dot grid. That's what we want to do, and we're going to put this in column 0 and row 2. Column equals 0, row equals 2. Alright, so column equals 0, row equals 2. Anything else to this? I think that's probably good. But now that's in row 2 as well, so now I have to move this up. So let's have the buttons like in row 1, row 5. Actually, no, let's go like 3 and 5 for the buttons. 3 and 5. So we'll have the indicators on evens in between the buttons, and that should be absolutely fine. Alright, so let's just change this. So that's the loaded indicator. We'll call this one primed indicator. Yep, that's pretty much good. We just got to change that to primed as well. Okay, there we go. Primed indicator there. And we'll have one more down there. So let's just copy and paste this again. And this one's going to be our fired indicator, I guess. So fired indicator works. Fired indicator. All right, so let's save that. And now let's see how this looks. See if anything interesting comes up. Why is it doing that? It seems to fling this one up first, and then when I close it, this one comes up, and I do not have. Oh, that's really weird. I don't know why is it just giving me that button. Okay, so the button's fine, but there's something after the button which is problematic. There's something after the button which is not right, and I don't know what that is. So let's just have a little look. Oh, there you go. It's because these are fighting for space. I forgot to change these. So 4 and 6. There we go, and we'll see how that looks. Oh, do you know, I've just realised why this Windows.main loop thing is coming up twice. It's because I've got it in the code twice, which is pretty stupid. So anyway, let's get that out of the way. There we go, that's what we're after. Right, so load, prime, blast. Load, prime, blast. Look at that. We've got our buttons that don't actually do anything, but anyway, so satisfying. And what we want to do now is actually know that we want to now actually be able to load, not prime until we've loaded, and then finally we don't want to be able to blast until we've primed and loaded. So I guess that's the challenge that comes next. But also this is quite boring. These buttons look really super boring. So let's have background then. So let's have background equals and I don't know, red. Let's be super original about this. So background equals, we're just going to have red, amber and green here, I think, for our buttons. That'll be good fun. Let's just do that. So red, amber, and green. We'll just fling them in there like that. So red, yellow. By the way, you can use RBG codes to tell Tkinter what you want to do, or you can just tell it kind of red, yellow, and green as well. You can probably tell it things like cyan too, and all kinds of other crazy colors. It's just it's pretty cool as Tkinter. You can tell it, you know, it's different things. So yellow and green. And now let's see how this looks. There you go, just one window popping up because that's what I've done. There we go, and they're now red, yellow, and green, which is pretty cool. All right, so now that we've done that, let's start thinking about the rest of our code. So we're now going to need 3 functions. Let's have, I guess we're going to need a load function, a prime function, and a firing function, like we've said. So let's have def, and we'll just call this one load because we don't need to call it anything complicated. It's a really, really good idea to give things names which actually make sense. And we're going to draw on the global variable for this is loaded. It's going to impact is loaded. Now, normally it's not a good idea to use global variables, but I'm going to because I just kind of can't be bothered with doing anything too complicated today. So if darts underscore loaded equals false, which it does at the moment, so equals, it's got to be the double equals, otherwise it will think I'm trying to assign a variable and it'll get confused why I'm doing that in an if statement. So if that's done, then darts underscore loaded are going to be, hang on a second, I've just realized something. Not all of the darts. Well, I guess the jolt has only got one, hasn't it? The jolt has only got one dart to load, so yeah, we'll just leave it. I was thinking, do I need to change that to an integer, but we'll leave it at that. Equals true. So if you click on that, so eventually this is going to be connected to the load button, and if you click on the button, then if darts loaded is false, it's going to become true, which seems like a pretty clever thing to do. Now, we're also going to want to have an impact on the loaded indicator here. So loaded underscore indicator. The first thing that we're going to want to do, if there is anything in that indicator, we're going to need to get rid of it. So we're going to need to delete anything in that indicator. And this is just how you do that in Tkinter. You tell it 1.0 and then tk dot end, and then you end what it's doing. And then we're going to want to put in there loaded indicator dot insert. So once we've deleted stuff from it, we want to insert some text into there. So tk dot end, and I guess we just want to write loaded, because that's going to be what it's trying to indicate to us. It's going to indicate to us that it's loaded. On the other hand, we want another condition that if we're actually just going to copy and paste this whole block here, because we pretty much can. It's going to be exactly the same. So if there's not a dart loaded in it when we click on the loaded button, then I'm going to make some spaces here just so you can kind of see this a bit more easily. Then we're going to want that to change to true. But if darts loaded is already true, if there are already some darts loaded, well, I guess we don't want to change anything. We don't want to unload it, because that would be just like silly. But what we are going to want to do is get rid of the information from that loaded indicators box, and we're going to want to tell whoever's just tried to load another dart into that there's not room for another dart. There's not space for another dart here. There we go. That should tell them. I don't actually know if there's going to be enough space for that in the box. I might have to shorten the message a little bit, but I guess we'll see later on. All right, and we'll have some return statements there as well, just because, you know, it's good. You just end the module with return statements, and everyone's happy then. Okay, let's make this a little bit larger so I can work in it a bit more easily. There we go. Return. Okay, let's check the chat, because that's also a healthy thing to do. Where's the chat even gone? Man, there's just too much stuff going on this screen. It's actually nuts. I should really just organize myself a little bit more. Nothing going on in the chat, which is a good thing for the moment. So that's that done. So that's the load module that's happened. And actually, I kind of think the prime module is going to have a lot of the elements of this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste that again here. So that's the load module, and now we'll have the prime module as well. We want global. We actually still want to know if it's loaded, so we're going to keep that there. But in addition to that, let's have global is primed as well. So we've got global is primed too, so we're going to use that as well. Right, so if dart's loaded, let's deal with the true thing first, because if there is a dart loaded and they click that button, then what we really want to happen is you want them to be able to prime. So there we go. So let's have is primed. I've just realized something, that this is loaded, and I've been writing darts loaded. I need to go back and change those, otherwise some crazy stuff's going to happen when I try and run this, because otherwise the variable name's not going to be the same. So there we go. Let's just change those. Let's change that. There we go. Otherwise that would have been really super silly. So there we go. If is loaded, then is true. Then when they click on the button, you want to make is primed true as well. All right, because you want to kind of indicate that's true. And then we're not dealing with the loaded indicator. We're dealing with the primed indicator now. So we want to then delete stuff out of the primed indicator. There we go. So we're going to be deleting stuff out of there, and we're going to deliver the message primed. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and now we're going to copy and paste this over that. And I've got a feeling this might be a little bit. No, this is going to be about the same as the other one, I think. Actually, this is going to be really super similar, so we're going to go ahead and copy this one here instead. Yeah, there we go. That'll do it. That'll do it. So prime. So if Dart's loaded is nothing though. Yeah, so if Dart's loaded is false, then we're going to want to print a message here in our primed indicator. And our message in our primed indicator is just going to say you need to load your blaster. You need to load your blaster. There we go. So let's do this. Stick some more music on in the background maybe, just cause. How about, there we go, let's just get that on. Okay, so if it's not loaded, then we just want it to, yeah, you need to load your blaster, basically. And if it's already primed, then we're just going to tell it nothing. It's really just got those two conditions there, the only two conditions it really needs. Alright, and now we're going to have our firing module, so def blast. Let's pull up blast. There we go. Oops, blast, like I can spell. There we go. Right, so now we're going to need all of this. Actually, we're not going to need all this. We're going to need, I don't think we need loaded anymore. I think we just need to, just without that, you're not going to be able to get through to this. We're going to need global. We want to be able to have an impact, though, on the global phone flung variable. So, yeah, that'll do it. So let's just go up and make sure that's the same input up here. Yeah, there we go, so phone flung. And this is going to be just a little bit more complicated because we're going to need to, let's have a think, what are we going to want to do? Alright, so if is primed is true, then what we're going to want to do is increment our phone flung variable. So phone flung, we're going to want to increment that. Yeah, just increment that by 1, it's that simple. So increment that by 1. Alright. And then we're also going to want to make is prime false at that point. Because obviously if you're firing the blaster, you fired it and it's not primed anymore because it's been deprimed. Okay, so when that's happened, we are also going to want to is loaded. We're also going to want to change that to false as well, because obviously there's not going to be a dart loaded in there anymore. Right, so that's fine. So when that happens, there's actually going to be quite a lot happening there. We're going to want to delete what's in the loaded indicator. Yep, we're definitely going to want to, we'll just delete what's in the loaded indicator. Where we were just here. Alright, so let's make sure, there we go. Delete what's in the loaded indicator. We're also going to want to delete what's in the primed indicator as well, so let's take a look at that. Delete what's in the primed indicator, because obviously it said loaded and primed, but once you fired it, it's not loaded or primed anymore. So we're going to get rid of that. And we're also going to want to write something in the darts fired indicator. What do we call that again? Like fired indicator. So let's just grab that because I'm lazy, basically. There we go. So let's grab that. Let's put that there. So fired indicator dot delete, and that's going to be the same again. So we're going to want to delete whatever's in there before we tell it how many darts we fired. So how are we going to do this? Well, I guess we just want to insert some information there. So primed indicator. So we're going to grab that. We're going to use that same kind of functionality there. So fired indicator. There we go. And we're just going to want to write there. So why don't we use this? So we're going to use this, which is going to enable us to insert the name of insert our global variable into our text. So we're literally just going to write, let's have that in there, and we want foam flung only it's an integer, but we want it as a string. Oops, there you go, that's right, foam flung. Oh, we don't need to. I think it should just actually do that for us, to be honest. You know, I'm just going to write foam flung in there and see what happens, because it should just do that for us now. So foam flung, and then darts fired. I'm actually a little bit bothered by the fact that I haven't seen like a changing color here as I've done that. I think it should change color normally when I do this, but anyway, it hasn't done. So I guess we'll just see, and that's just going to tell us how many darts we fired. All right, and then we're going to return all of that. So that's all that we're going to want that to do for the instance that we're able to fire the blaster. All right. On the other hand, if the blaster is not primed, then we're going to want it to that's actually a lot simpler than that. So that's going to be an elif statement, I guess. Have I used elif statements above as well? Elif is primed is false. We're not going to need actually any of this at all. It's just going to be the same as one of the other ones. It's just going to pop up a message, something along the lines of, nope, you need to kind of prime your blaster. That's what's going on there. So elif is primed is false. Then we just want it to, let's have fired indicator. Whoops, there we go, fired indicator. So delete whatever's in the fired indicator. It's okay if that happens because it'll get printed out every time something fires. And we just want to say you need to prime your blaster, or just prime your blaster, you fool. Maybe not you fool, but prime your blaster. There we go. So that's what we're going for. Let me just go and change those other if statements. Yeah, I hadn't written elif in any of those, so I need to do that. Elif and elif again. And save that. And invalid syntax. Let's take a look at the shell and see what it doesn't like. Oh, it doesn't like that. Why doesn't it like that? What have I done? Just an extra bracket. Did I not need? Oh, maybe not. There we go. F5. Let's see what happens. Doesn't match indentation level. Maybe there's an extra space there or something that doesn't need to be there. Let's see if that's better. Okay, so load. So I'm pressing load and nothing's happening. I'm pressing prime and nothing's happening. I'm pressing blast and nothing's happening. And the reason for that is because I haven't actually told the buttons that they need to be connected. So let's get command equals, so the first one's going to be to load. And then down here we're going to have command for this button equals prime. And then down here it's going to be command equals blast. Right, yeah, I completely forgot about that, to be fair. So let's see if this works now. Off we go. And loaded, all right. See if it'll let me fire. Prime your blaster. Okay, brilliant. It's giving me the message. Primed. So there's not space for another dart here. That's fine. That's good. And then fire. One dart fired. One dart's fired. Well, that's great. So load, prime, fire. Load, prime, fire. And there we go. So this is going to just let me load and prime my blaster the same as I would load and fire a Nerf jolt, sort of. And this is, I guess, going to be kind of the basis for like I say, a little kind of incremental clicker game that I'm hoping to develop, where you can use different blasters as well. But anyway, it's probably a lot more interesting to me as like a Nerf hobbyist. But hopefully, it gives you a couple of ideas about things that you can do with with all this kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks very much for watching me ramble on about Tkinter and doing a bit of Tkinter. This is now PyJolt signing off.